What's up, guys? It's me, Lumos Theromax, and today I'm going to discuss the relevance and some interesting scaling facts about a short stint in Hal Jordan's life, known as the God of Light. Now, this story takes place during Darkseid War, where all of the members of the Big Seven of the Justice League were just getting like these crazy overpowered buffs, making them all gods. And in Hal Jordan's case, he has an interesting stint, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think about that down low. So be sure to like and subscribe to both me and the coffee shop content creators. And if this video hits if this video hits 50 likes, I'll slam you guys with another really interesting Hal Jordan arc or just video in general. That being said, where we start off today, essentially Hal is hanging out with Batman, who is on the Mobius chair at this point in time, and Hal is starting to feel some really crazy weird things because his ring's wiling out, and Batman, being the new god of knowledge, essentially says, yo, now that Darkseid had previously died in this story, his parademons are looking for like a new leader, and they're roaming free in our universe since they were here last. And like moths drawn to a flame, they're all going to the brightest place in the universe, and that is, of course, the central power battery on Oa. You need to get there. And Batman boom tubes himself away, immediately leaves, and Hal is like, okay, I guess I'm heading out to go slap these fucking idiots, because I ain't gonna let the GLC die. And keep in mind, the entire parademon army is massive. So we kind of get a glimpse into what's going on Oa currently, and man, the parademons had completely overcome all of the GLC. And John is one of the last ones left, and he just literally is telling Hal through his ring that, like, it's over, bro, like, I'm going down, I'm gonna die. And they drag John up to the central power battery, and they're essentially sacrificing him to the central power battery. And they're doing this to apparently everyone, and Hal's listening to his final like will and testament as he's rolling up on Oa. And every single person who is captured, they either join the source of the Mother Box's power, or they essentially just get turned into parademons like everyone else. And most of the GLC up until this point in time has essentially fallen and becoming like parademons. And Hal has like this flashback on the way about like not fearing death and dealing with his father's death, because way back in the day, obviously his father crashed, and Hal chose to take up his mantle regardless of the fear that everyone else had that he would follow in his father's footsteps. But by the time he gets to Oa, he forgets about that flashback and starts throwing hands with the now parademon Kilowog, who is just wildin'. And Hal asks his ring like, yo, dude, what's going on with all these dudes? How many lanterns are left? And he scans the entire planet, and the entire planet, there's one lantern left, no other life forms. They're all essentially just dead, though. They're all new god, all demons at this point in time. And Hal is like, yo, so about the mother boxes they're utilizing here, he says, I've messed with these things a few times before. Essentially, after my fight with them a while back dealing with the life equation, essentially those mother boxes function like rings, right? And so the main mother box they're trying to utilize is essentially their central power battery. So that's all I have to do. And he says, give me a rundown of how many foes I got to kick the ass of. And it literally starts counting. There's over 1 million of opponents for him to fight. And he's going hard, dude. He's just literally gunning down everyone he possibly can. This even includes other Guardians of the Universe who were converted in the background, which is absolutely insane to consider. And despite his best efforts, these enraged parademons at this moment in time, with the enhancement of the lanterns as parademons, are just too much for Hal to fight. And he, much like all the other Green Lanterns, gets brought before this mother box, and the mother box tells them, basically asks him, will you be my god? And Hal looks at it and says, yo, like, despite everything here, you want a god? I'm fucking Hal Jordan, dude. My dad cut open the sky. And the mother box pings and then merges with his Green Lantern ring. And Hal ascends into godhood as the new god of light. and he claims he can see it all. And we get this crazy splash image panel of all these moments throughout time that were, essentially. And Hal at this point in time says, hey, can I just undo the last 24 hours? Or undo everything that happened to Oa ever since the parademon attack? And the ring says, why, of course, you could do anything, just say the word. And Hal says ping, and completely reverts the entire planet, all of the Guardians and Green Lanterns back into their normal versions, and BFR'd all of the parademons back to their home world of Apocalypse, home reality of Apocalypse. And Hal sits back and thinks to himself, dude, I've made everything right. I finally have the chance to make absolutely everything right. And he says, I can control everything. I can control the stars. And the ring pings back to him and says, you're no longer bound by the concepts of time and space. You are light, and you are everywhere. So Hal at this point in time has quite literally become the concept of light. And as Hal's looking at this, he looks at all the stars in the distance and says, wow, those all look like candles. And he remembers that night, that flashback he had earlier to all the candles in the room where the young Hal Jordan was mourning his father. And the guy he was actually speaking to was himself in that moment as the God of Light. And Hal Jordan, as the God of Light, goes on to say some rather interesting things, saying the thing that makes us special is that we, unlike God, can't see everything. We don't know how everything ends. In fact, we don't go to church to watch God. We actually go to church so God can watch us, because we are the ones who make all the interesting things. We are the ones that are unique because we have free will. He doesn't necessarily. And it's with that idea that he immediately comes back to the current moment and says, Motherbox, can you destroy yourself? Can you remove this power from myself? And immediately he snaps his fingers and it is done. He's back to being just normal Hal Jordan. His ring even registers there's no demons or gods nearby. And he says, yo, when I was the God of Light, I looked into some of the shit that Hal Jordan was gonna, or that Batman was gonna do with that Mobius chair, and I can't let him deal with any of that. And immediately speeds off into the distance. However, there is one last really genuinely interesting thing to discuss, and in the next chapter that kind of follows up on that, Hal rolls up to Batman, and honestly, everything up until this moment had been kind of speculative in terms of what Hal had been doing. You know, he was like obviously above gods at this point in time, or it was like a high tier considered within the gods. He completely reverted the entire planet of Oa. So like, how exactly powerful was Hal in that moment? Were those good demonstrations to genuinely show how powerful he is? And when he rolls up on Batman, he says, yo, dude, and Batman says, yo, I can read your mind. And he's like, yeah, obviously this shit's dangerous as fuck. You need to get off that chair. And he says, I just fused my ring to a mother box to completely one-shot all the parademons that were there. And I was mainlining a power that almost rivaled the emotional spectrum. And he barely had the will to actually separate himself from that mother box. And that's really crazy to consider, because even just one emotional entity can slap around God sphere level characters. If Hal genuinely means the entirety of the emotional spectrum, including white and black, that would be wild. That would be insane in my eyes. Now, in my opinion, it's like a highball interpretation. I think that's what you could go for there. I think in an honest interpretation, you're probably just looking at the minor emotions or the lesser emotions, like the main core 7. And even so, that's still insane to consider, because, I mean, look at Larfleeze just in general, and he's just one part of it. He's saying that this is something that almost rivals the emotional spectrum in its totality. That's crazy shit. But honestly, if you guys get the chance, Darkseid War is absolutely insane. Absolutely recommended. It has some really interesting moments, and I glanced over a lot of the content that went on with like the flashbacks with Hal and his younger self, but it's just really interesting stuff to dig into. Maybe if we hit that 50 likes, I'll bring it back and we'll do more of like a narrative interpretation of the situation versus like some of the crazy ass moments that he does. Well, that being said, guys, be sure to like and subscribe down low to me and the Coffee Shop crew, and I'll see you guys next time. Later, Lanterns. Don't go hollow out there.